Greeting everyone, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. My name is Tony Yuan. On behalf of the Love Tree Foundation and the CS Art and Cultural Salon in Taipei, I'm more than happy to welcome you to join NGO CSW65 Forum and more than grateful for your participation. As an NGO organization, Love Tree Foundation has put a lot of effort in equalizing the right and the varied cultures, respecting diversity and supporting disadvantaged groups for 40 years. Ensure that everything you do today will be respected by yourself tomorrow is our motto. Therefore, we are honored to have experts and scholarships from the UK, Denmark, Japan, Indonesia, India, Gambia, Venezuela, and Taiwan to share their experience and insight in gender equality. I want to express my gratitude toward our speakers, Professor Louis, Jialing, Liao Jialing, Kevin, Liao Boya, Robert, Yu Dairong, Guo Jiayou, Luna, Koizumi, Zoubi, Hikuchi Takaki, Chen Yalan, Eden, Liu Junyi, and Hong Qisong as our speakers. They will deliver their experience and thoughts about female talent development and its strategy applying. This forum, I believe, will inspire every participant to have a much more profound and greater understanding of the theories and the practices in gender equality. If you are an outcast and lack of chances to stand in a spotlight, build your own stage and draw everyone's sights on you. None of us need to accept the world as it is. We can make it into the world as it should be and it could be. Finally, I would like to welcome you again and wish you all have a delighted and meaningful experience during this forum with my best regards. I know the last thing you want to hear right now is to stay home. My message is to stay tuned with us from home and stay healthy, stay safe, and stay blessed. The most important is stay who you are. Thank you. And now we would like to invite Acacia Shea from UKTOCO. Acacia, are you there?
Yes, thank you very much. Good morning to everyone who's currently watching in Taiwan, and to those of us who are not participating from Taiwan, good day or good evening to you. Firstly, I'd like to express my gratitude to Love Tree Foundation, 树仁社会福利基金会, for hosting this talk, as it's a privilege to join such an inspiring group of people at this forum on the empowerment for all women through the expression of arts. I can see that the event venue looks wonderful, and it's a real shame that I'm unable to participate physically. I think we would all agree that empowering women and girls and achieving gender equality are crucial to creating an inclusive, open, and prosperous society. Whilst Taiwan's vibrant democracy and respect for human rights are increasingly known to be core to our nation's identity and values, as a Taiwanese person, I'm proud to see that we also recognize that there is more to be done. There is more that we can do to support women and girls' awareness, capacities, abilities, and there's more that we can do to actively create opportunities and an environment which enables empowerment. And I believe that we're all eager to act. But the promotion of gender equality is a complex task. The task may concern long existing social, cultural, political, economical, and spiritual issues. And as you can see, it really would take participants from all over the world almost 2 weeks to talk through just some of them. And this is obviously why the Commission on the Status of Women is running themes covering a much wider range of specific topics for all of us to consider. At this particular forum today, we're not going to attempt to cover all aspects of the issues in hand, such as what the barriers that hinder women's voices are and why they exist, Instead, I'm excited to explore and learn from the experts in the various fields of arts, why and how they believe the expression of arts can break through these barriers and empower women to become more independent, confident, and influential, and what the rest of us can do to support that cause. The various fields of arts, which I just mentioned, I believe, include music, performing arts, architecture and design, and digital diplomacy. Unfortunately, as a lawyer, my ability to express myself through art might be more limited than Pig's ability to fly. So don't worry, I won't be talking much longer, but I hope that we all leave this forum with lots of food for thought, action plans which each one of us can set out to achieve, and appreciation for women's empowerment through all types of expression of arts. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Yanin Lee, today's MC. Thank you for Akasha's opening speech. Next, let's welcome Anderson Tai, President of UK Taiwan Student Union, for another opening speech. Let's welcome.
Good morning, everyone. I'm the President of Taiwanese Students Union in the UK. It's my honor to co-organize the NGO CSW65 Virtual Forum. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, many students overseas chose to take online courses in Taiwan. Since the pandemic prevention policy in Taiwan was a huge success, our arts and cultural industries were limited by the pandemic. Currently, the empowerment for women was a hot topic in Taiwan. Not only via the expression of arts, we hope to discover various ways to voice for women's rights. Through today's forum, we hope to not only discuss more thorough into the topic of the empowerment for women through the expression of arts, but also build the connection of domestic empowerment action for minorities with the world. Thank you. 早安，各位贵宾，大家好，我是台湾旅运学生总会的会长蔡月婷 Anderson， 非常荣幸今天能够来协办这个联合国的平行论坛。今年因为疫情的关系，许多留学生都选择留在台湾，以线上的形式来学习。台湾防疫的政策成功是我们有目共睹的，这使得台湾的艺文产业能不被疫情限制，持续的去创新发展。同时，我们国内的妇女平权活动也持续的一直在进行。近期有许多国内的议题正在探讨着妇女平权的问题，无论是透过艺文活动或是其他管道方式，我们都希望妇女平权能够在国内外受到更多的重视。相信透过今天的论坛，我们能够更深入讨论艺文产业的与妇女平权的价值，也协助台湾的平权活动与国际的连结，寻找更多元的发声管道。谢谢。
Thank you, Anderson Tai. And then next, we will come to our today's performers. Olive Tree by Kevin Liao, composer, singer, songwriter, violinist from the Julian School. Thank you for Kevin Liao bringing such beautiful and lovely songs. I almost can imagine trees and flowers in front of me. Next, let's welcome him to the stage to share us about the topics in Women in Classical Music, Unlimited, Untapped, and Underappreciated. Welcome.
Hello, everybody. I'm Kevin Liao, and it's an honor and a privilege to be here to be sharing some thoughts about women in classical music at this NGO CSW Forum 65. And a little bit about me. So I grew up playing the violin. I grew up in classical music, and I was trained at the Juilliard School, and I was very fortunate to have worked with many very great and very popular teachers. And I've also been had the pleasure of performing worldwide, working with many different musicians. And yeah, it's so awesome to be here. And although it's early in Taiwan, it's always great to get the conversation started early in the morning. So without further ado, my topic today, I'll be talking about women in classical music and their untapped and I would say not highlighted potential that I think is unlimited. So throughout history, I think women have been overlooked and undermined in the classical music industry, whether due to societal limitations, familial restrictions, or just misogyny and sexism. It's very unfortunate, actually. Even like Pope Leo IV in 850 actually banned women to sing in choirs at the church. And of course, at the time, the church was the center of music and was definitely the grounds where music sprouted up. And so I believe that many women have contributed immensely to classical music, and they deserve a big spotlight and they deserve a place in history. So without further ado, I'd like to direct your attention to my little PowerPoint here, and we will have our first musician, artist, if you will, Hildegard von Bingen, or Hildegard of Bingen. She was a 12th century German writer, philosopher, mystic, and of course, composer. And she was indeed a revolutionary. She wrote books on medicine. She wrote hundreds of letters to popes, nuns, people of power in the 12th century. And she even established her own house of nuns in Rupertsberg. She was the founder of scientific natural history and is just super multifaceted. But of course, today we're going to be talking about her contributions in music. And I think it's very, very underrated. She should deserve much more of the spotlight, and she should be in many more history books, as she was responsible for one of the largest repertoires attributed to a medieval composer. And she's also one of the most recorded composers of sacred monophony, which was pretty much medieval music at the time, or what was very prevalent. And she's written close to 100 pieces, many of which have survived and are slowly getting played. And what's very interesting is she wrote the text as well as the music. So not many musicians would be able to write the text. See, I'm a singer-songwriter. Sometimes I don't write all the lyrics. I write some ideas, but Hildegard von Bingen wrote both the text and the music. Here we have a picture of her being acknowledged by the priest. And in the 12th century, women were very limited in what they could do and the things that they could achieve in society. So Hildegard von Bingen, being so, at the time, so scholarly and so artistically had such great achievements, was incredibly revolutionary. And she's just incredibly influential, a giant in music history. However, she wasn't mentioned in any reference book before 1978, which is 800 years after her death, which is way too long. You know, nowadays on Facebook, on social media, if it's not known the next day, it's already too long. So 800 years it took for us to even acknowledge her in a reference book. In 1990, she was finally entered into the New Grove Dictionary of Music. And now I think in circles of classical music, she's one of the most identifiable composers and one of the most important female figures, I think, in classical music. But I definitely think need more spotlight on Hildegard von Bingen. Next, I would like to move to our next, if this will move. Our next musician that I like to spotlight is Miss Anna Maria Mozart, or otherwise known as Nannerl Mozart. She was mid-18th century to 19th century, born in 1751, and she was described as a virtuoso, a prodigy, a genius, all words that were associated and were familiar with associating with Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, not Anna Maria Mozart. Little did you know, Nannerl Mozart was actually the first genius of the family, if you will. Nannerl and Wolfgang actually toured Europe for 3 straight years, thousands of miles. And mind you, this was on horseback. So no cars then, no Teslas, horseback, and 88 cities, performing to thousands of people. And Nannerl was often the top billing, meaning she was the first person you wanted to go see. She was the headliner. She was the main event, not Wolfgang Amadeus. However, due to societal norms, as well as familial pressures and her father, she was forced to put her music career aside at the tender age of 18, which is incredible because if you think about it, at 18, I was still learning. I felt like I was still a baby in my music career, and I was still learning so much. And at the tender age of 18, she had to give this up. Her father forced her exit, knowing full well that Nannerl Mozart had as much, if not more talent than Wolfgang Amadeus. I want to say a quote from Leopold, the father of the Mozarts, and he wrote in the letter in 1764 that my little girl plays the most difficult works which we have with incredible precision and so excellently. She's only 12 years old, yet is one of the most skillful players in Europe. So at the tender age of 12, already the most skillful player, one of the most skillful players in Europe, but she had to give up this talent and this work. I would like to move on a little bit to proof of her composing, because although she was an amazing instrumentalist, she also composed. And Wolfgang repeatedly wrote that nobody played his music better or improvised better than Nannerl Mozart. And I think you would be really astonished to hear that when she wrote, she would often abandon the pieces, or she just wouldn't get them published. She just wouldn't show the pieces in public. But of course, from all the letters that we received and a lot of historians have read, Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart also wrote of a piece that she sent to him personally. My dear sister, I am in awe that you can compose so well. In a word, the song you wrote is beautiful. And so I think what we have to ask ourselves is, what did we lose here? You know, a genius and talent that's stifled because of unfair and unjust societal norms that were put on females at the time. And I just think it's quite sad and disappointing that she wasn't able to flourish and actually give to society what she would have been able to. And none of her music survived today. Perhaps she destroyed it or her father destroyed it, but it's quite unfortunate because she shouldn't feel the need or the pressure to destroy her music. She should really be proud of her talent. And this is, I think, a cautionary tale of what could have been the first genius in the Mozart family. Here I have a picture of Wolfgang. You can kind of see how similar they look. And this is the family, Leopold sitting at the piano with Mozart and Nannerl. The next artist that I would like to point everybody's attention to is also, I would say, a sister hidden in the shadows, is Fanny Mendelssohn. She was a German composer and a pianist of the early Romantic era, 19th century, and of course was a sister of Felix Mendelssohn, who is a staple in the classical music world. And actually one of, for those maybe a little bit unfamiliar, one of Felix Mendelssohn's pieces is actually a staple of everybody or many people's lives, is the wedding march. Dum, dum, da, dum, 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 da, dum. So yes, and an incredible composer in his own right. But anyways, back to Fanny Mendelssohn. We're not here to talk about Felix because everybody only associates Fanny with Felix. But Fanny herself actually wrote more than 460 pieces of music, 125 pieces for the piano, 250 lieder songs. She wrote piano trios, piano quartet. She wrote a bunch of music. And by the age of 13, she was able to play all 24 etudes of Bach's Well-Tempered Clavier from memory. Just an incredible, accomplished musician, once again, at a very young age. And once again, like Nanuro, I think was stifled and stopped in the middle of her growth. I would like to enter a quote from her father, the father of the Mendelssohns, and he says, music will perhaps become Felix's profession, while for you, it can and must be only an ornament. Can you imagine that? Somebody who wrote more than 460 pieces of music, 125 pieces of piano, has a well-tempered cavalier, played from memory, and to say the piano and music is only an ornament in your life. I just think it's such a discouragement, as well as something that we should definitely reflect upon as we look back on history and give these women the proper place in history. I think 19th century women were confined to certain roles in the household, and men often had the right to make decisions in the household, especially in a bourgeoisie household. And one of my favorite music historians, Richard Taruskin, suggests that Fanny Mendelssohn is compelling proof that the lack of women's works in the compositional playing field has been the result of social prejudice and patriarchal mores, and that's it. And it's very true, because Fanny wrote all this stuff, but she couldn't get a lot of it published actually under her own name. She had to publish her works under Felix Mendelssohn. And to this day, we're still astounded that she wasn't able to put her own name on her work. Felix privately supported her, but even Felix, and I quote, she says, she regulates her house and neither thinks of the public nor of the musical world, nor even of music at all until first her duties are fulfilled. Even Felix, who supported Fanny's art and her career, still understood that the world wasn't open to this idea of a female being creative and being an artist. And so one of the last things I'd like to note out is actually very, very interesting, because Felix is famous for his collection of pieces, and you could say a genre of music called songs without words. But actually now historians think that Fanny wrote songs without words either at the same time or before Felix even did. And so Felix Mendelssohn is credited as having pioneered this genre of music, while really Fanny could have easily been the pioneer of song without words. Even as soon as 2012, as early as 2012, we just found out that the Easter Sonata, which was also accredited to Felix Mendelssohn, is actually a piece by Fanny Mendelssohn. And so it's amazing how all these accomplishments and the place in history that we give Felix Mendelssohn, the brother, we don't give to Fanny Mendelssohn. And I believe that we should spotlight these artists more. And one positive thing that I think came about from her life and in terms of publishing works is the year before she died, she was finally able to publish a collection of songs as her Opus 1. This was in 1846. And it's crazy because to think she wrote, 500 plus works, she didn't publish any of it until the year before she died. And she was only able to publish a very small amount. But at least she was able to publish her works, unlike Nannerl and Bingham before. Here we have more pictures of Fanny Mendelssohn. Yes, wonderful. The next artist I would like to kind of bring to the spotlight is Clara Schumann, and was also late Romantic, mid-late 19th century, and was also an amazing pianist, just like Fanny Mendelssohn. However, Schumann is known for two things. One, Robert Schumann's wife. Two, Johannes Brahms' love interest and involved in this love triangle, which is sad because Clara Schumann has so much to offer, and she shouldn't be defined or known through her relationship with other males. Clara Schumann, I think, you could say was a Beyonce of her time. 61-year concert career. Who has a 61-year concert career? It's incredible. And over 1,300 concert programs that have been preserved. So it's insane the amount of performances and the revolutionary impact she had on piano playing. In fact, she had so much of an impact that she changed the format of piano recitals and concerts altogether. She was one of the very first to perform from memory. People back in the day used to perform from sheet music, and it wasn't a norm to play from memory until Clara Schumann was like, you know what, I'm gonna play all this stuff from memory. She also was the first to introduce serious works into the piano recital, as opposed to works of just with virtuosic flair, you know, things that made you giggle, made you go, ooh. No, she was the one to introduce serious works played from memory into piano recitals. She started touring at the age of 11, got numerous awards and titles. You know, Paganini offered to appear with her. Liszt and Chopin wrote extravagantly about her as a musician, some of her compositions, and a critic in Vienna who actually watched her recital actually described her as epoch-making and a consummate artistry. So you can really say that she was an amazing musician from a really young age. And her composing career, I think, was also equally as amazing. However, we've lost a lot of her works. And she composed many, many works from the age of childhood, from the age of 11 to middle age. She composed about 5 to 8 compositions a year, which is crazy. And I quote her saying, "There is nothing that surpasses the joy of creation." But sadly, once again, because of societal norms and many other reasons, she was unable to continue her compositional and artistic growth. I quote her, she says, "I once believed that I possessed creative talent, but I have given up on this idea. A woman must not desire to compose. There has never yet been one able to do it. Should I expect to be the one?" So to go from composition is nothing surpasses the joy of creation or composition, to go from that to a woman must not desire to compose, you know, it really says a lot about the time as well as her circumstances. But I believe despite her circumstances, we should really, really look at her for what she's done and who she is instead of all the other circumstances. I mean, if her music is good enough for Johannes Brahms, for Liszt, for Chopin, why can't she be mentioned in the same vein as these other artists? Clara Schumann's music was never played by anyone else in her lifetime and was largely forgotten. And so it's quite sad. I think it's a talent that once again untapped and unlimited potential. Her husband, Robert Schumann, has a wonderful quote that I'd like to say is, "Clara has composed a series of small pieces which show a musical and tender ingenuity. But to have children, a husband who always living in the health and realm of imagination does not go together with composing. She cannot work at it regularly, and I am often disturbed to think how many profound ideas are lost because she cannot work them out." And that's the part that gets me the most, like the amount of profound ideas, the amount that we would have gained artistically and musically from Clara Schumann if she were encouraged and had equal opportunity as male counterparts, is what we lost. And that's something that we have to remember and we have to deal with. And therefore, I believe we should spotlight this wonderful woman and wonderful musician in history. I think she's a towering figure in classical music history, and it's our duty to kind of play their music. You know, I encourage everybody after this talk to go on YouTube and Spotify and search up these artists. Instead of listening to Robert Schumann or Beethoven, listen to some of these other artists, because it's obviously not the quality of the music, it's just women weren't as much in the spotlight and as much played. Here we have another picture of her. So as we're moving down the timeline, it's clear that, you know, we start to have pictures. And this is a picture of her and Robert. Very, very talented couple. Unfortunately, Schumann, unlike Nannerl and Fanny, wasn't in the shadow as a sister, but was in the shadow as a wife. And I believe that, you know, I stand here today not as a woman, I identify as a male, but why shouldn't I be part of the conversation? No matter what gender, what age, what experience you have, you should always be a part of the conversation. And there's a quote, as you can see on the PowerPoint, Maureen Alsop, a wonderful conductor, writes, "For me, this is not a woman's issue. Everyone can and should play a part in this." And I believe in this so much, because with conversation, with education, then we can deal with things like male ignorance or societal norms that we can challenge. And for this talk, I've talked to a lot of my friends in the industry recently, and I was really surprised and almost embarrassed that a lot of sexism and a lot of gender inequality still goes on at the professional level in classical music, whether it be more difficulty getting auditions or even misogynistic comments during orchestra rehearsals or singling out. Women often have a hard time in classical music. And I believe that we must keep the discussion going in order to move forward. I hope you had a great time as much as I've talking to you about classical women, wonderful, wonderful musicians. And I really hope you guys can go Google these guys, go listen to them, go check them out. And thank you very much. I'm Kevin. Thank you.
Thank you, Calvin. Thank you for Kevin Liao's sharing. From his sharing, we can understand and we know that there are so many talented female musicians in past centuries and what a hard time they are passed through. And next, we want to welcome Professor Gideon Louis, the founder director of Future Impact Foundation. And today, he will sharing about the topics on gender partnership, respectful ethos.
Thank you very
Thank you much. Please, welcome.
So that was a wonderful talk, Kevin. Thank you so much. Very inspiring and very illuminating and educational, but also very engaged and current. I'm going to talk about something which is not history. I'm going to talk about what maybe is the next step of the gender debate. I'm going to talk about partnership. From a societal point of view, everything that we do is in fact partnerships. The whole human endeavor is partnerships. We've grown together over thousands of years because we do things together. But there is a conflict in the way that we regard each other as competitors and when we're striving for success. And I'd like to look at the way that we can celebrate the differences that connect us and to develop a respectful ethos to lead to a peaceful resolution of the confrontational gender politics. We are in Taiwan, and you might think, okay, so what's a foreigner doing in Taiwan? Actually, I'm a Taiwanese. I've been living here for 20 years, and the partnership that I have in Taiwan with so many people has meant that I feel that this is my home and this is where work is most successful. Oh, I have to do it myself. Here we are. Okay. So I've championed women's rights all my life. I've even been more passionate about them than many of my women friends. So where did this passion come from? This is what my talk is going to be about. I've lived and worked in many countries around the globe. I was born in England. I lived most of my life in Denmark, and I came here 20 years ago. But I've also worked in the US, in North Africa, around Asia, in India, Sri Lanka, Korea, Japan. And everywhere I've gone, I've met wonderful people. Generally, people are wonderful. Unless they're under stress or pressure, people are kind and good and wish other people well. But despite huge progress, and we can see, for example, from Kevin's examples, how up through the years and until 1900 or so, women didn't have a voice. And today, there are 49.6% of humanity is women, but they are still the largest disadvantaged minority in the world. And how can we continue after 100 years of women's emancipation? How can we continue to tolerate this? I believe that culture is more central to the resolution of gender questions than politics. Why? Because family is the first and most important place where we learn how to become people. Family, in my opinion, is the cradle of culture. Grandmothers, mothers, sisters, wives, daughters, they are all our partners. My grandmother was the first woman to win a first in mathematics from a university in England. She was a suffragette who chained herself to the fence around the Houses of Parliament in the 1920s. And she was a founder of nursery schools. My mother was an architect who designed hospitals. My sister is a documentary filmmaker and a trustee of Women for Women International, which is a non-profit humanitarian organization that provides practical and moral support to women who are victims of war. My wife is the next speaker. My daughter is a specialist in human resource development. And these are all modern women who have handed over each generation a better world, a better future for women around in the next generations. However, it was my father, who was an international scientist, who was the idealist and humanitarian who taught me to treat women as equals. Actually, he taught me to treat women better than men, but that's a different story. The women in my family are the practical doers, and the men are the abstract thinkers, but they supplement each other seamlessly. They are two complementary halves of a gender partnership. Gender equality is in my family culture. It's an integral part of the way that we think and live, as natural and obvious to us as the air we breathe. So my proposition is caring about and respecting all life, all others, including other people, women and children, is not a political ideal, it's a family ethos. You learn it where you grow up. Maybe you learn it even before you can talk. Before you can walk, you see how other people treat each other. And so what you see in your family is what you come to do. So if we look at ethos as a set of cultural values that help us to make decisions and choices, ethos, it stands between ideals and practice. Ethics we learn through education, what we believe to be right and wrong. Ideas. And that's where we can see in the historic discussion. In earlier times, people believed it was right that women should be subordinate to men. Morals is what we learn through socialization, what people tell us is good and bad behavior. So this is what we do in action. Ethos is what governs our balance between our ideals and our practice. So that's what we learn in families. To be achieved, gender equality needs to be a personal ethos, something we believe and do that puts political ideas into social practice. Family education transmits values, an ethos, a family culture. Mostly, mothers transmit culture, which is a social ethos, and fathers transmit skills, a work ethos. And these follow their children for the rest of their lives. Recognizing, respecting, supporting, and combining differences makes people and relationships stronger. The example you set small children and how you show that you care about them makes girls and boys into the women and men they become. Everywhere around the world, parents do their utmost to ensure their children a better life than they had themselves. Everywhere, however, we all have different ideas about what is better. Despite these differences, however, it is an undeniable fact that today, wherever and whenever it's possible, parents all over the world wish all their children the best opportunities they can offer, both girls and boys. We can see this in the fact that girls are equally well educated and go to school equally long everywhere in the world today. And I can see it in my work as a professor that in universities, we have in Taiwan, we have more women who take study more seriously than men. My classes are full of women, and there are just a minority of men. Educating and telling people what to do and how to behave, however, creates resistance. It creates dissonance between social norms and family values. We push people to change instead of pulling them, attracting them to new ideas. This creates confusion and criticism, and that's maybe why gender politics have progressed so slowly. So the old gender politics strategy was of polarization, a binary position where we fight for advantage. We are critical of each other, we compete with each other, and it ends in conflict, where there's a winner and a loser, and either or thinking, either you're male or female. It creates tension. It creates confusion. And somebody is going to be successful. Our idea of being successful is excluding others, not including them. The new gender partnership scenario is that we are complementary partners. What I can do and what you can do, I can't do. What you know, I don't know. What we do together is stronger than each one of us separately. So here we are collaborating to have a harmonious whole, a win-win, a both and thinking. So both myself and us together. And that is the way most people live their lives today. The conflict, the polarization that there is in the debate is not actually what we experience in our everyday lives. We are collaborating and partnering with people in every aspect of our lives. We all depend upon each other. Where we have a win-win, we can achieve synergy, more than the sum of the parts, more than two, for example, in a relationship. Where we have voice, we listen and we respect other people. Where we have a winner and a loser, we achieve division, less than our potential, less than half. If we're only listening to, for example, the male in the family, we only have one voice. So we lose all the creativity that Kevin was talking about in the fact that we don't listen to the rest of the people in the group. In a globalized world, a collaborative, giving mindset is creative and fruitful. And a competitive taking mindset is counterproductive and wasteful. Our traditional way of looking at things is my rights, my advantage. Who am I? What do I have? In a collaborative mindset, we focus on my duties to the group, my responsibilities to society and to my family. This is what we look at first. Here is a little diagram I'm going to show about the us and them mentality, where we win or lose. We fight. We are inclusive within our group. We collaborate to innovate and develop, to create profit and advantage for those inside the group, but we exclude those who are outside. They are the them who we are fighting for success with. In a collaborative environment, everybody within that environment competes with each other to improve and to do the best that they can. We can achieve profit and prosperity, innovation and creativity, rights and responsibilities, inclusiveness and diversity. It's a synergetic win-win. People who share mutual care and respect build social groups where openness, listening, consideration, and tolerance are first nature. There's this expression, second nature. No, it's first nature, because it's before you even become self-aware and conscious that you can see this is the way to treat each other. Everywhere, people who share a life of mutual care and respect are already partners. Partnership means recognizing everyone's unique contribution to the human endeavor by leveraging leveraging both the amazing power of what we share, which is about 90% of our lives, and celebrating the creativity that makes us different, which is probably only about 1%. When we look at it, human beings share much more than they are different. So gender partnership means letting go of the past and going forward together, or continuing to focus on ourselves. So a few privileged men can compete to go to Mars, as Elon Musk is suggesting, and a few more entitled women can compete and they can go to Venus, because we can't go to the same place because we're competing with each other. And we've got to prove that either men or women are the best. So the rest of us will be left behind here on Earth, and we can collaborate with each other to save this Earth, which is an admirable and much more preferable goal. DNA studies show that we are one species, one family, one race. We look different, but the differences are tiny. In our DNA, the markers for these different characteristics that we call different races, different genders, are tiny compared to the enormous DNA quantity that makes us human beings. So let's focus on becoming better human beings, all 7.8 billion of us as we are today. Let's celebrate the differences that connect us and recognize that we are all equally interdependent, girls and boys, women and men, and everyone in between. Let's start with improving ourselves and learn to build happier families where we learn better patterns of behavior, we treat each other well, and a better planet and better futures together. Thank you.
Thank you for Professor Gideon. Thank you for his sharing, and we learned a lot about partnerships and also the very important keywords, collaboration, because we are all the same. Okay, so next, let's welcome Liao Jialing Liao, Director of Scandinavian Design Consultant, Committee Member of the Ministry of Culture. And she was talking about the topics on I am a woman. What's your superpower? Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Loy and Kevin, for the excellent talks. And now it's my turn. Hi, everyone. I'm Jialing. As Andy Warhol say, everyone will have 15 minutes of fame. So I think in this digital world, maybe less, 15 seconds. So I feel very honored and very privileged to be able to talk and share my idea with you all here today. So I do think to be a modern woman in this globalization world, it is requires certain superpower to be a woman. Why? Because we've been required both to be a man and woman at the same time. Thanks to all this female movement in the past decade and 100 years, women nowadays, we actually do have a voice, and we do also have a lot of responsibilities, and we have to play different roles at the same time, juggling many different balls with only 2 hands. So we've been required at work to be tough like a man. When we go home, we have to be sweet and tender like a woman, and we have to be a loving mother. And in between, we have to also fight for the time to self-development and to be an independent woman, and still enjoy the sexy moment to be beautiful and nice and sweet with girlfriends. So it does require certain superpower, and that's why women feel nowadays we have so many different rights and privilege, but at the same time, we have a lot of pressures as well. So as John Gary's book say, men are from Mars and women are from Venus. So let's see, is it really true? We have at least cliche ideas and fixed images about men and women. For example, women seems to be more critical to oneself. I mean, like this morning when I leave my home, I can look at the mirror and feel, okay, I think my hip is too big. Maybe my arm are too thick. And when it's a It seems men have a better self-feeling about themselves. I say, oh, I look really handsome, I look really nice, but is it really true? Let's also see the next. We believe men and women are different. Of course, they are different biologically and psychologically. And how men and women see colors. Oh, men will see colors in the big categories like red and black and pink and yellow or blue. And women intend to see more in details. So when the women ask the men, what dress, which color should I wear? Blue. And women will ask, which blue? Green blue, light blue, dark blue, marine blue, or turquoise blue? So that's also physically and emotionally make us different. And we also believe when men and women break up, women in the first days will get really upset. Men in 1 week, we finally rebuild ourselves and some chocolate and sweets and girlfriends talk will help. In 1 month, we get it over. And men will feel much more all right and relief in the beginning. And after a week or months, they feel really they need time to digest and feel sorrow afterwards. But it's those things I mentioned and those pictures are actually correct. Not necessary. I think the difference is between the different cultures and different nations and different environment you grew up. Especially the feminine culture, I think is extremely important. As the Professor Lowy say, you know, and in the family, we are men and women, but we are also daughters, we are mothers, we are fathers, we are brothers, we are sisters. So I do totally agree. It's not a competition, it's a partnership. And that applies equally to men and women. We always, as a woman, we think men might compress us and not let us to have a voice, to express ourselves, and we have to fight for our rights. But actually, I have also some experience with successful women who are actually not to give me more space to grow. And I remember a lot of time when I was living in Scandinavian country, which is for us, it's the ideal heaven for gender equality. But actually, it's not necessarily also true because a lot of time I can only feel and tell myself, maybe successful and elder women, they don't like younger and more talented or perhaps a little bit beautiful woman. But then when now I'm seems to get a bit older and more mature, and I have to remind myself not to do the same thing to the even younger and even more talented woman than me. So I do think this gender equality apply to all, and the partnership is also equal to women and men. And thanks to all this female excellence in all fields, because of their contribution, in the silence, in art, in music, in politics, and in all different areas. Women nowadays, after 100 years, we can have all this, okay, reminds me to look at the main camera, hello. So reminds us to remember what we've been through. We don't take everything for granted because we are quite easily can. We think we are born with a voice. We think now we can fight more rights, but we forgot all these women before us, what they've been through and what they've been really fighting for. So we have to continue this and be kind to each other. And people used to also say during the pandemic, women leaders, female leaders in the country seems to manage it better because it's also in our DNA, especially now, I mean, I'll give the example, I'm a mother. Before I become a mother, there are lots of limitations I think I couldn't do because I'm a woman. And then quite funny, after the moment I become a mother, I feel I'm much stronger. I can do a lot of things and I can deal with a lot of crisis management. But I shouldn't only become a mother to feel that. I should be proud to be a woman and to be able to just do it. So I will quote these words from Madonna. A lot of people are afraid to say what they want, and that's why they don't get what they want. And that's also, again, equal to men and women. A lot of time we feel we can't be here, people don't hear our voice, and they don't respect our opinions. And maybe it's because we didn't express it precisely. Maybe we didn't use the right way of communication. And when some women express their voice and they really fight for their rights, and then at work, let it be common to be overreach. While men are doing the same things, they will say, oh, they are very successful, they are very ambitious, and that's a good sign. So I think sometimes we just have to follow our heart and to remember what's the actual goal and purpose, and how to work together and communicate together. And maybe sometimes switch our ears to listen too much of other voices when it's the right thing to do. So it's either or, it's not either or. It's not just a black and white question, because between black and white are all the colors. So it's both and. So I will get the example of myself. I'm a mother, I'm a wife, run my 2 different business, and I'm also the chairman for different associations, and I do a lot of charities. And it's also important to myself. And a lot of people ask me, why try so hard? Why juggling so many balls? Is it not enough for you just to be a mother, or just to be a wife, or just to be pretty, or just running your own successful business? It's not. When you can have all, when you can have both and, why choose? You actually can manage it all. So I think the most important thing is we have to make a big choice. We have to get out of our comfort zone. But before that, we should have more empathy and sympathy to each other. And then we have to learn from mistakes. And we have to jump and think big. Because through our mistakes, because by lift up the old thinking and to think big, we can actually be a better person, and we will dare to have a voice, and we will make sense. So always believe in magic. And magic doesn't come from anywhere. Magic comes from yourself. Magic comes from believing in yourself, and magic comes from trying hard. So let's talk about the gender equality in Taiwan, which is quite a story for me, because I traveled and lived in many different countries in the West and Asia, and mainly in Europe. In Taiwan, I grew up with the saying, it's man is the head of family. And I always believed so, because my father told me so, all my siblings told me so, and the society told me so. And when I grew older, I actually realized one thing quite interesting. I find out, yes, man is the head of family, but actually women, wives, are the neck, because the neck can tell the head to turn left or turn right. And this is very funny and very interesting in Taiwan, because all these amazing Taiwanese women, they know how to work nicely and communicate with another half, so we call men. So what do they do? Like lots of business people I know, especially couples who are running business as SME, small and medium business in Taiwan, normally it's the husband in charge with the whole big idea and development. But then women, wives, are all the one who in charge with all the financial, every daily basis, all the management, and also the future development. And because of so, those women they actually get to develop it, and they have the actual power, and they can actually develop it into the bigger scope. And then they will give all this honor to the men in order to work more smoothly, but at the same time, they actually also have a voice, and they actually also can participate in all the key decision making, which is also quite amazing here. And to share my own experience in Europe, I think before I left Taiwan quite young. So before I left Taiwan, we don't actually talk much about gender issues, but I always feel something different. Myself is a little bit awkward, doesn't quite fit into the environment. But then I left, I went to Scandinavia, I went to Europe to study, and then my eye was wide open. I find out, wow, actually we can be different. Actually, we have all the possibilities. We can do many things. But then at the same time, I will see in Scandinavian, I see men and women, actually, they have a gender equality, but they also compete a lot. And we have these things so-called millimeter democracy. So, which is like, I take children to school today, you pick them up. After school, I do the cooking, so you should do the laundry today or dishwash. So in many times it's more a competition, but it's not a cooperation. And then in Taiwan, when I come back, I can feel in Taiwan, actually it's developing a lot. Although when I join a lot of, competition judging and a lot of consulting for the government events. And quite often I'm the only female judge and only one from the industry, or perhaps only one from outside of Taipei. But I got the opportunity to speak aloud, to share my voice. And actually in Taiwan, people do respect when you make your point and when you speak aloud. And this is a quite amazing thing in Taiwan. And this is the things that we can actually do here. So we've been told a lot that women are the girls' best friend. And the commercial told us. And I remember many years ago, my husband wanted to celebrate our anniversaries and he wants to send me a big diamond. And I say, no, freedom is, I would like to have a right to buy myself a diamond. I don't need a man to give me a diamond. So I do think girls, we are diamonds. We can make ourselves diamond and shine. And the women has this privilege that we could be soft and hard at the same time. And we have all this great transition in between. We can soft like a water, but we of course can be hard power like rock. So we do have to encourage ourselves. We do have to believe everything is possible. And we do have to believe we are possible. And it's not just I or me, it's we and us. And I think also the final words I will say about the gender equality, doesn't matter it's to be man or to be woman. I do think we have to see we are all human beings. We are all feminines. We are sister and brothers. We are father and mother. And we would like to be harmony and happy together. And that's all matter in life. So I'm a woman, and what's your superpower? Thank you.
Thank you for Jialing Liao. Actually, I am so inspired. And as a woman, I'm encouraged and I believe I can do whatever I want, not just what I am. Thank you so much, Jialing Liao again. So next, let's welcome Yu Dailong. Dailong Yu, PR Director of FOCA Circus. And then he will talking about the topics. Their circus can also be culturally equal. Let's welcome him.
Thank you for having me here, and thank you, Kevin, Jialing, and Professor Laurie for your very inspiring talk. I'm Dairong Yu. I'm the International Affairs Manager and Resident Dramaturge for Formosa Circus Art, short name FOCA. It's a contemporary circus company based in Taipei. Today, the topic I'm going to talk with you about, I put another word in front of the topic, added on the original one, is reimagine. Circus can also be culturally equal, and I will tell you why later. And first of all, I will give you a very short introduction about FOCA. So the company was established in 2011. The original name is Mixed Acrobatics Theater. In 2014, we changed the name into Formosa Circus Art. So last year, we celebrated our 10th anniversary. In the past 10 years, we've made, in the past 10 years, we made 12 productions. We've been to 20 different countries, 50 cities, and we've done 97 ticket selling performances and accumulated 190 international performances. So, women in circus, it's not a new thing like for circus or like also in other industry that there's a lot of situation that need to be improved for women in different sector. But in circus, what is quite special or quite obvious that a lot of times the women are quite limited in certain types of discipline. For example, you see a lot of time women are doing the aerial shows or you'll see a lot of the time then doing a certain types of shows that they are being asked to present a sensual or exotic image. But for circus is such a demanding art form that the challenge of the women facing is really no less than men. And it needs the same commitment and the same stamina to be a professional in this industry. The pictures you're seeing now is a workshop that FOCA did back in 2017 with two artists, actually three. The one above is Isabel Schuster. She's an aerial silk artist. And the two underneath is an acrobatic duo, Nikki and JD. And from my personal experience, I would say that these are really experienced and powerful women in the industry. And as a circus company in Taiwan, we learn a lot from all our colleagues, all our women colleagues aboard. Another example I would like to give to you is an Australian circus company called Circus Oz. Circus Oz was established in 1978, and since 1997, there's equal policy in the company, which is they aim to have 50-50 male and female employee in the company, and not only for the artists on stage, but also for the administrative team. And I always find it very, very inspiring because back in 1997, that still circus is quite a male-dominant sector, and they've been doing this for decades, and they are still doing this now. And I always find it's a very good example for no matter you are in the circus sector or not. Today, the example I would like to share with you is a production FOCA did back in 2018. The show is called Wukong, Before the Journey to the West. For those of you who don't really familiar with the Chinese culture, I give you a short explanation that this show was adapted from the novel from the Ming Dynasty, The Journey to the West. It's about a monk that who go to India, and the journey to the West. There are three of his like we'll say like spiritual creatures, and one of them is the monkey. And you probably heard of the very famous story about the Monkey King, and its name is Wukong. So this is the title we gave, and we decided to adapt that story into a theater work, a circus work. And at the moment we decided to do this topic, me and the director, we both agree that there needs to be a female artist in the casting. And why? Let me tell you. This work was commissioned by the Taiwan Traditional Theater Center, and we were supposed to go to Japan for a touring during the Tokyo Olympic. And as you may guess, it has been postponed to this year, and we're still under the evaluation whether we will go or turn that into an online event. But back to why we want to have a female artist is that the whole story, why we call it Before the Journey to the West, because in the first chapter to the sixth chapter of the original novel, that is about the born of this Monkey King from a magical stone, and also how he was suppressed by the Buddha under the mountain of the palm, the five-finger mountain. And this whole journey is like, we don't really know that when we going back to see the text, there is no certain description or no certain words that imply that the monkey is a male monkey or female monkey. And we're asking about this question that who is this Monkey King? Who is Wukong? Is it a god? Is it a monster? Is it a real monkey, or is it like a human, like a metaphor of human that reflecting what we really are? And also, is it a male or a female? So under the theme of the identity searching, we both agree that we need to find a female artist to reflect the complexity of this topic. And The female artist we invited to join the cast is called Yongxin Shi. She was originally trained as a Peking opera actress, and later on she learned a different skill of circus. And what Yongxin specialized in are like hula ring and also the aerial ring. Sorry, I went a little bit too fast. Yeah, okay. There are a lot of rings in this show. Also, it's an element that we drew from the novel, is that there's a golden ring that the Buddha gave the Monkey King's master to control him. So the golden ring became a symbol for desire, restriction, also like a weapon, but it also symbols a kind of freedom that if you think about like its shape and also what it has been used in different times for the whole story. So you can see like in this picture, like in the very beginning, you can see like somehow it feels like she's kind of trapped with all this ring on her limbs. But later on that it became hula rings that you can see how Yongxin like master the object and show her powers through the circus show. And also even later on, you see she climbed up to the ring and flew up into the air. And you can see all the other performers underneath watching her out there doing all these amazing tricks of the aerial ring. And this is what we try to share, or what we try to address, that through this restriction to this freedom, there's something that's not changed. Like you can see this thing kind of like, you can see the same thing as restriction, or you can see as a step that can help you to address yourself even better. And not only Yongxin performed like the hula ring or the aerial ring, but also we asked her to try a new trick that she never did before. And it's also a very, very important element for the show, is the golden stick. The golden stick is what the Monkey King stole like from the sea god, like under the sea. And it's like a magical stick. It can get longer, it can get shorter, it can get so thick and strong that it can become a column sometimes. And so at the scene before, all the other performers were having this short stick and they were playing with it. And after that, Yongxin came out with the stick using her head against it. And maybe you cannot see this one, but it's actually a very, very long stick. So she came out holding the stick with her own head, with a balancing show, and walk out alone. And it was a very, very powerful scene. And later on, she joined the ensemble to do different tricks with the stick. And you can see this is the same one. You can see how long, and it is actually, it's not super heavy, but it has some kind of, it needs some certain kind of skills. And for circus artists, if you ask them to do a new trick, to learn a new discipline in the quite short of time, sometimes it's very challenging for them, because all of their discipline, they have trained that for years. So, but Yongxin never complained about that, and she's very willing to take about the very important part for this show. This is probably just a very short story and very short example from our company. And another, our colleague I would like to share with you is our resident stage manager, Fang Yu. As you may know, that stage manager is probably the most important person when we run the show, that she takes care of all the like logistic and setting up the lights and communicate with the designers, and to make sure that the work will run through very smoothly during the whole week before the premiere. So Fang Yu joined the company 3 years ago, and she is the first resident stage manager for the company that we decided to hire because of her taste and also because of her profession, that being as the position. And you can see that in the theater technician industry that is mostly also quite male dominant, but throughout the time that Fang Yue has been a very, very important partner for the whole company and a very important member. But at the same time, as a colleague and as a friend, I also appreciate that nevertheless, she show her soft side and her female side, and not about being this important position. She's not trying to be as dominant as other male, but use her own characteristic to do this job. And before I end my sharing, there are also other different examples. If you can go online and find a website called Circus Talk, it is a media platform and also a social network platform for circus professionals. And they have a news column, and FOCA has been doing a report exchange with the Circus Talk News. And since the pandemic and also the Black Lives Matter movement last year, there are a lot of female Black or colored artists in America to voice out their opinions toward its unequal situation. So there are a lot of inspiring examples on that website you can find. And also I would like to add an example, also another company, circus company in Taiwan. They are called Eye-Catching Circus. And last year they premiered a show called Hashtag Since 1994. And it was an all-female ensemble show. And I would say that I was there personally. I was on site to witness this show, and I was very amazed by what they did, and probably the first time that the female circus artists being represented in a very, very different way on the stage in Taiwan. So they probably will do that show again this year. So you can stay tuned for their Facebook page and also all other informations. And to conclude my sharing that I think the same like for circus and other industry, that there are a lot need to be improved, and there are a lot of action that we can do. But as I was inspired by Jialing and also Professor Laurie's talk, is that how we can treat each other like it's not about I win, you lose, or you win, I lose. It's about how to really partner with each other. And this is also what I've always learned from the performing arts sector, that it needs a teamwork to do a whole thing. And the team, we need different kind of brain, we need different kind of personalities, and that includes everyone. And that's my share today. I hope you find it interesting. Thank you very much.
Thank you again for Dailong. And from his sharing, we can understand and we have just know about the partnerships, collaboration, and female talent just from the previous speakers. That is so wonderful. We can see that is so much collaboration in a circus. Okay, so next, let's welcome Guo Jiayou, the president of Taiwan Digital Diplomacy Association. Let's welcome Guo Jiayou, and then she will talking about the topics on women's soft skills on new diplomacy. Thank you.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Here's 10 a.m. in Taiwan, and I'm the last speaker of today's forum. In today's speech, I'm going to share some experience about how women fulfill our self-power in diplomacy work to have a better communication. I'm the founder of Taiwan Digital Diplomacy Association, and Taiwan Digital Diplomacy Association is a very young nonprofit organization, and 80% of our team members are women. And we got awarded by Taiwan Foreign Affairs Ministry as an Excellent Contribution Award last year. And we are also the youngest receiver in the history who got this award. What we do every day is that we try to increase the visibility of Taiwan in the international world. We use social media to create the impression of Taiwan on social media in foreign society, and then try to create attraction and build trust between Taiwan and other countries. I realized that in the past few years, my job is all about building trust between different communities. For example, I have been a nonprofit organization worker in Greece, and I was working for Greek Forum of Refugee, which is a nonprofit organization established by refugees themselves. And our job every day is to record the voice of refugees and try to present it on social media to communicate with Greek society about refugee situation. And in the past few years, I was also a fixer for foreign media who comes to Taiwan and want to do video production or interviews. The first things that I would like to share about women's self-power is that women have the magic of easy to be approached. I would like to share that women are very easy to start a communication with strangers because you feel less defensive when women trying to talk to you. My stories about this example is that in 2017, I've quit my first job in Taiwan, and then I fly to Kosovo. I fly to Kosovo alone. I fly to Kosovo because I want to try out a crazy experiment about if I can connect the government of Kosovo and Taiwan through social media. Because in the past few years, I'm always doing communication works on social media. The first 2 months when I arrived Kosovo, I have visited 38 different organizations and try to meet people to figure out what is their habit and what is their how they use internet in Kosovo and what are the topics they care the most about. The first thing I did in Kosovo is to open a fan page and talking about a topic that frustrated both Kosovo and Taiwan, which is the international recognition. Kosovo has been recognized by more than 100 countries in the world, and Taiwan has only been recognized by 15 countries in the world. This fan page, the topic I'm talking about is about the country domain name of Kosovo. Country domain names means, in every country's websites at the end, every country has their own code. For example, Taiwan has .pw and Britain, they have .uk. Every country has their own code. And because Kosovo is a new established country, they haven't got their .ks for their digital independence. So I opened this fan page, and the thing I did every day on this fan page is to invite people from different countries to show their support about Kosovo's digital independence. Especially, we call for the support from Taiwanese, and we do radio records, and we write articles, and we share our experience. This fan page got exposures a lot in local society because digital independence is really a topic that Kosovo people really care about. Because we raise a lot of voice on the internet, on social media. So Kosovo government and also their medias like TV shows or radio shows invited me to share Taiwan's experience with them. After the advocacy campaign, I also initiate another project that is exhibition in the National Museum of Kosovo. In the National Museum of Kosovo, we talk about what is the development of the next 10 years of Kosovo, because back to 2018, it was only the 10th anniversary of Kosovo independence. And through this exhibition in Kosovo National Museum, we invite a lot of Kosovo young people and to discuss about what is the future they want. And we also invited Taiwanese designer to create the exhibits based on the discussion of Kosovo young people. So at the end of this exhibition, the Vice Minister of the Cultural Ministry of Kosovo, she wrote a letter and asked me to bring it back to Taiwanese government to show her willingness to collaborate with Taiwanese government in the future. So with this successful experience of Kosovo, I realized that maybe social media can be the tool to connect two countries together. And the second thing I would like to talk about women's soft power in diplomacy is that empathy. Empathy is about, because women are more understanding about other people, we are very easy to stand in other people's shoes to think about their situation, their feelings, and their wishes of their life. So with empathy, it's very easy for us to find a common topic between different communities. And with these skills, we initiated another project in 2018. We established a social media page in Vietnam. I fly to Vietnam in 2018. And what we did there is we started a medical online platform, and we invited Vietnamese doctors and Taiwanese doctors to share some medical knowledge on YouTube and on Facebook together, because we noticed that Vietnamese people really like to read about medical knowledge on social media because of some limitation of the medical environment there. So to create a better image about the partnership between Taiwan and Vietnam, we try to share some free medical knowledge on internet. And in the last year, we also assist another Taiwanese NGO to promote their work in Vietnam, because this NGO has already implemented free surgery for Vietnamese children for over 20 years. But local people, they don't really know about who provide this service and how to get this free surgery. So through the social media promotion, we increased 3 times. We has assisted around 200 Vietnamese parents to assist to apply for Taiwanese medical resources. And in the last year, we also have an online campaign with Indian people because we found that Milk Tea Alliance, it was a common topic between Taiwan and India. A lot of Indian friends, they want to join, Indian friends want to join Milk Tea Alliance, which is a democracy alliance, a very big campaign in Asia last year. And during the time we created pictures, and we put the president of Taiwan and the prime minister of India in the same picture, and they hold bubble teas and Indian milk tea to cheers together. This picture was shared by more than 2,000 Indian people on Twitter last year, because they used these pictures to discuss about the relation between Taiwan and India a lot. Even India magazine, they used this picture to emphasize the importance of the relation between Taiwan and India. And when another example is that when the pandemic was the most serious, which was the last April, we produced 3 videos to serve the foreigners in Taiwan. We record 1 video to raise the voice of foreigners in Taiwan, to share their feelings and their opinions, because during the pandemic, most of the Taiwanese, we focus on our feelings only. And during the time, we also receive a lot of foreigner friends to ask us how to order masks online, because Taiwan has a online mask ordering system, but the interface was too complicated. So we produced another video to help foreigners in Taiwan to order their own mask online. And the next things I would like to share about women's self-power was multi-communication. Multi-communication means, in diplomacy works, you have to hold some events, or you have to do a lot of campaign online. Sometimes you have to communicate with a lot of people from different cultures or different countries. For multi-communications examples, that is, we have this Norwegian National Day Parade last year. Because last year the pandemic was very serious. Norwegian people, they cannot have their own National Day parade in Norway. So people can only sit at home and watch the television to celebrate their National Day. And what we did in Taiwan is that we invited all the Norwegian in Taiwan and hold this National Day parade with around 80 people. And at the end, this parade got on the local media of Norway, because we have communicated with the local media very hard. And our Norwegian friend also sent out this video to their royal family. And according to their saying, they say the royal family office, they have replied that they have watched this video and very thankful to us that we have held this event in Taiwan. In the last year, we also have held 2 forums with Somaliland and Bangladesh to share Taiwan's experience in COVID diplomacy. And a part of our job every day is that we also visit different embassies in Taiwan and also foreign institutes in Taiwan to understand more about their demand and their demand of communication with Taiwanese local people. The biggest event we have helped the embassies to hold in Taiwan last year was a football game, which name is Copa America Taiwan. We hold this event and attracted around 4,000 people. 4,000 people attend this event to play soccer together. This event, Copa America Taiwan, was very important for all the Latinos in Taiwan. In Taiwan, there were about 3,000 Latinos, and all these Latinos, they celebrate their spirit of football every year in this event. And because not so many Taiwanese know about this event, and also we think it's a good thing to connect Taiwan and Latin America together. So last year we increased a bit about the scales of the whole event, and we invite performers, football players, and also some food vendors in this event to celebrate the Copa America Taiwan together. And through this event, we successfully put Taiwan onto more than 28 foreign media, especially in Latin America, because all their football game was suspended last year. So we found this topic, which is football, that Latinos, they really cares about. So this event was very successfully to put Taiwan under the spotlight of international media. And this is the picture of our volunteers who assist in this event. We have more than 100 volunteers to try to connect Taiwan and Latin America together. And you can see most of them also girls. And in my today's sharing, I would like to conclude a bit about my presentation. Women always have the soft power to increase the peace of the world. And easy to approach, empathy, and multi-communication, these 3 things help us to easier to build trust with other people, with other countries' people, or do cross-cultural communication. And these 3 things can not only apply to women, but also apply to everyone who want to be a diplomat, a civil diplomat. And it applies to everyone, it applies to everyone who recognize the importance of soft power. And I hope you have a good time with today's presentation. And if you like us, please feel free to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much, Guo Jiayou. And next, we will come to the last section of today's forum. The panel discussion, we were talking about the respect for diversity. Now we would like to invite the panel discussion, the panelists, Kevin Liao, Professor Gideon Lui, Jialing Liao, Dai Longyu, and then the last panel discussion, the panelist Guo Jiayou to the stage. Yeah, thank you so much waiting for with us for such a long time in the beautiful morning. And at the beginning of the panel discussion, I want to spend a few time to introduce the mask we have. The mask we have a very beautiful and cute photo on this. It is by the our organization, their joint competition for the children with disability. And the winner of the photo, we make them to the mask and to show what they can do, not just what we know they can do a very good job for, like a joy. Okay, so for the last part of the today's forum, today we want to talking about the diversity. Then I'm so happy to have so wonderful speakers sharing their experience and what they know in their domain. Then for today's, I have some question for you. For example, my industry is from the startup ecosystem. And for nowadays, I have seen more and more startups and entrepreneurs are female, and even the CTO. And they are very good at the detailed things. For example, the service or the product they design are more user-friendly. So I believe that in Taiwan, especially recent years, we have done a lot and more a good job for the gender equality. So the first question I want to ask is, like, for the gender equalities, have you seen any challenges or any things you think we still to overcome in your workforce or in your industry?
Well, I will answer that question all the time. And I like you use the word challenges, and because I do think it is a challenge, is not a problem. And yes, in my own industries, which is in the creativity and design industry and consultancy industries, I think we have a more tolerance for women. Because we're supposed to be creative, we're supposed to be different. Although in Asia, it's still a very male-dominated world, but they allow we to be different and show different color, so which I think is very good. But I also judge and consultant for a lot of big organizations or even local government and central governments and all different international competitions, which actually I think it's more men dominate, as I mentioned earlier in my talks. And quite often I'm the only speaker or the judge or consultant, on which I have to try harder to fight for my voice or to offer them the different point of view, female angle, and in order to balance the outcome. And I see actually more and more women like me and have giving the opportunity to show, and I think that's a good sign. And actually we do get more response and more respect, and our voice and our opinions and also being respected. And also, so I think it's a good sign for me.
Anyone want to respond to?
As I work in the so-called performing arts sector, from an institution level, I think is quite a, how to say, we the situation is not so bad. Like for example, the three national performing arts center, 2 of them, the artist directed, are women. And also, for my knowledge, that all the manager, the leading manager who select the program for the theater in all these 3 national theater are also all female managers. But from the creative side, from the industry side, that, for example, there are much less female theater director. There are a lot of female choreographer, but also like from the circus sector I work on, there also are much less female leaders. And so there are different situation if you look at the quantity. But I think it's also the quality that all the panelists are talking about. Is about the soft power, is about the concept. It's not really about your gender. That's about if we can use this kind of different quality not to dominate other people, to reflect on the leadership. I think that's more the challenging, because it is intangible. It is not about you see, oh, how many women or how many men on the position. So I think that's probably, I would say that's what we need to focus on more, and also put more effort onto, for it's about the spirits, but not just the quantity.
Yeah. I think gender equality doesn't cause too much difficulties for me, because we are a civil organization. But during my work, because I visit a lot of embassies and also some government sectors, I noticed that even in Taiwan, the diplomats that between men and women, that women, like, we are 4 times of the diplomats than men, but most of the high position of in our government sectors are occupied by men. And sometimes I feel a bit confused about this, because not only in Taiwan, when I visit like other countries' embassies, you can see in the office there are around like maybe 4 women and 1 man, but men is always the ambassadors and always a representative in Taiwan. So maybe for diplomatic work, we can think about like women, we have the soft power to enhance, to improve the process of communication between people. But when we talk about like the career or the position, even we can think about if we really have the equality of gender equality for women and men, the same opportunity to pursue their diplomatic work. Yeah.
I'd like to catch a few of the things that have been said, because if we go back to the analogy that Jialing had about head and neck, in Taiwan, I think what we experience a lot is the partnership between men and women. That actually what we have to look at is not what we are allowed to do, but what we are good at. And that changes with time. So gender equality also means being allowed to do what you're good at. And as you very rightly said, there are lots of heads of departments who are male. And then there are huge numbers of women who are the neck, who actually give them all the material, all the content, all the ideas that the men go out and say. And that is true in many both sectors, businesses, and government. So maybe it's the way that we share the roles, and we just say, you do this part because you're good at it, and maybe you do this part because you're good at it. And some departments do have women. We have a female president, and lots of other countries also have female presidents. So maybe through education over the generations that have come since we began to have the end of the 1800s, where women began to have a voice like Schumann, we then progress towards a society where people are recognized for their abilities and not for their gender. Would you like to say something?
Actually, no, I think everybody is excellent. Excellent sharing. I do agree with the roles part, where I think everybody has different strengths, but I also think what sorry, I forgot. What she said was very valid as well in terms of numbers, because if you think about it, if everybody in the situation or working is female, but the person in charge is a male. As a male, I know I can't feel how females feel in any situation or any work circumstance. That's something that I have to try to understand. It's something I have to continue to work, you know, because like you said, we've had all this history where women have had to fight. So I still think it's valid to have women in leadership positions, even just for that. You know, just for the fact that they're women in leadership positions. I think that has value as well.
Yeah, I do appreciate what Professor Loy said. This is not just gender equality. It's talking about not compete. It's collaboration. It's partnership. That is the takeaway I think I really appreciate today. Of course, all the other speakers, the sharing are also very valuable. So the next I want to ask the question is, we have already seen that changes in past few years and also in this 20th centuries. Then what will be the next movement or change in the near future? I think it's a big question, but I believe that something will be changing. I mean, in your, you are all from different industry, and then you will see different point of view from your mind. I will appreciate. I believe the audience will also appreciate.
It seems that I have to answer this question. So actually, my job, yes, my name is Professor, but actually we run a business together, and our speciality is upgrading and next step development. So we're always looking at the history to see where did we get to and what is the next step, which is really your question. It's always difficult to predict, but what we do believe is that we're moving from first an industrial society to a service society, and the next step seems to be going to be a creative society where everybody is recognized for their contribution, not just production, but actually what we can add to the future. And in that respect, and looking at universities and education today, women are going to play the leading role. When I see here in Taiwan, and I go and lecture in other places, the vast majority of people participating in education, improving themselves, broadening their horizons, going to night schools, evening schools, going to special courses to learn new things, it's all women, everywhere in the world. Women are those people who have gone through the greatest changes, and men are actually being left behind. And that I see as the most positive thing. That when I look around, that is what has tipped. It's gone beyond. Now we have a predominance of women, knowledgeable, informed, creative, engaged, empathetic, moving the world, and that is very, very positive. And men have made way for it. We can say they were just lazy on the sidelines, but actually men have also supported this because they recognize the partnership.
So watch out, men. I think the last things you say, the keywords, is also important. I see many talented, independent, successful women. Like actually, the reason they can shine is because they got the great men behind them, also be the rock and support them, and that give them the solid foundation. Because men and women, we need each other because we are the 50-50 in the world. But I do also think the next step is to have more tolerance for each other, to understand each other more, and to have more empathy and sympathy. I think in this digital world, and because of the social medias, we are so much in a hurry to say what we want to say, but we forgot to listen. We forgot to hear. And we only see the world from our own perspective, but we forgot the balance between minority and majorities. So I think have to understand each other more, to have more empathy and sympathy, and to have more tolerance for people who are different. I think will be the next step.
I'm very resonate with the idea of understanding that working in the art sector. I think like the first step is to understand that because I personally believe that art is one of the very important reason why we do art in this era is that we want to communicate with people. And I think have the willingness to understand otherness, I think is very important. And what I think of is that in the future that I totally agree that what Jialing and Professor Laurie said about the future. And I also think that we need to be prepared for that all these, the back waves, like that the waves come forward and will come back and come forward again. And I think that a lot of times we see that's what happens in this history, and we need to somehow prepare for that, for our discourse, for our faith, that we can, at some point, we can have the courage to take the leap of faith and into the next step, because there's always other force that drawing us back for the whole generation. And I somehow also maybe also in the social media era, sometimes this makes me feel quite anxious. Yeah, that how sometimes the force can be also quite strong. And but I do believe that we need to prepare for that, and we need to also focus on how to go into the next era in a partnership. Yeah.
For me, an ideal future is that one day we don't have to emphasize the difference between men and women anymore. Because during my teenagerhood, I was always studying in a girls' high school. So no one has ever told me that, okay, girls can do this, but girls cannot do this, only boys can do. I think the study in girls' high school has a lot of impact on me, because I got the courage that, and I believe girls can achieve everything we want to achieve. People always ask me, why do you have the courage to go abroad alone? And even I don't speak good English, but I still go to Kosovo and to connect the government between Taiwan and Kosovo together. How I have this courage? I think it's because I got inspired by my school and my experience about dream has no gender. If you want to achieve anything, then just go and do it. So thank you.
As the microphone is just passing, I noticed in your story that you told both about the Mozart children's father, yes, and was it Schumann? No, Schumann's husband. The husband, yeah. They were really important, yes, in actually bringing up those children to express their talent, even if it couldn't actually be applied in society. It was the family that brought it, and it was the partnership.
Yeah, I totally agree with what you're saying. And I think it's important that no matter what gender or what race or what experience or what age you are, that we speak about these things. And it's not just like, oh, only women can speak about this. No, men have to advocate for this as well. And in order for there to be gender equality, and also to help define what gender equality is and becomes, because I think it's ever changing. So
thank you so much. So at the last moment of today's forum, I think it's a very good opportunity for all of you, also myself, to share our understanding about the gender equality. So at the last moment, I want to ask every one of you just like one sentence or one thing. What do you want to advocate in terms of today's topics? Equal, gender equality.
Go down the line. Well, I kind of said it. I hope that everyone can continue the conversation and to be a part of this discussion, whether you think you're educated or whether you think you're not educated in the field. I think everyone has value. So definitely continue this conversation and discussion everywhere.
My one sentence would be, we are facing such huge challenges here as human beings on Earth that we have to have a common goals, whether we're men, women, wherever we are, we have to face it together and live in peace in the planet. So the goal is not beyond ourselves. And if we can become partners in solving those challenges, it doesn't matter where we come from, who we are, what color we are, it's all got to be joined together and created.
I think education is the key. So continue to be educated and have the courage, dare to be different and dare to be you, and also have a voice and fight for it.
Okay. Because only 2 minutes left, I'll just give one sentence that dream has no gender and pursue have whatever you wish for. Thank you.
Okay. Wow. I think from dream has no gender, I would like to say that creativity has no gender. Yeah. And it's, we are all valued, but there are a lot of different structure and system that made some of the ideas are not valued. And that's all our, how to say, common task. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Because the timeline, we have to cut it off for today's forum. So thank you so much for everyone's participation for today's forum. Thank you again. Thank you so much. Thank you for everyone. Thank you for organization. Love tree. Thank you.